Nicol's Commentary, Volume 3, Quaremead, Ugley, October 13th, 1945, Commentary on the Observation of One's Psychology. This is the first of two videos from this group meeting. At a recent meeting here, we were speaking about man's having a body and also a psychology. A short note was written about this, which I wish now to be read. Everyone is fastened to a particular kind of body by birth, and then is fastened later on to a particular psychology by upbringing. The work starts not with the body, but with the kind of acquired psychology to which we are fastened by upbringing. You can spend your time in trying to make your body better or the psychology better. The work is first about studying one's own acquired psychology and, so to speak, seeing it, see through it. It says that this is not you, and as long as you take you as yourself, you are asleep. If you, say, Mr. Smith, take yourself as Mr. Smith, as you, as I, then you are asleep. The work begins by uncritical observation of this Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, which you take as you, as yourself. The object of the work is first to see this Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith and then separate from them. The reason for this is that everyone has a real self, a real I, which is never attained by being Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith. The life belonging to Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith is not his or her real destiny, for both of them are invented people and not yet real people, and so attract quite wrong things. But as often as not, or more often than not, people prefer to lead the life of this Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, especially if they're in easy circumstances. And if they are continually in difficult or tragic circumstances, they may cling to being Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith all the time. That is, to the acquired psychology, which is called both personality and false personality. But it is this clinging to Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith that is false personality, that is, they're an invention of themselves. Whether we have been brought up at Eton or in the Navy or in the Army or any school or profession, it is exactly this acquired psychology that we have to overcome, that is, this tedious invention of ourselves. How tedious after a time it is to see people brought up in these different spheres, completely identified with themselves and their acquired psychologies with which their vanity is connected. You remember that the work says that you have to realize your own nothingness eventually before you can receive the full baptism of the work. There are many ancient esoteric symbols for what a man has to become to undergo regeneration and rebirth. Certainly this is impossible as long as he is identified with this acquired psychology, with his circumstances or birth. This symbol is of a cup or a wine glass that is upside down in him. This cup has been turned up the other way, being empty, and it can receive quite new ideas, that is, the ideas that regenerate a man or a woman and change them into different things altogether. Now, the point is that every one of you has a body given to you by life and a psychology that's been acquired by upbringing. A beautiful woman marries a handsome man. But what about their respective psychologies? As long as not, or as often as not, they find that their psychologies are completely incompatible. A person's face, unless you are very subtle, does not give you that person's psychology. But the chief idea here is that one of you has a different psychology that has been acquired through upbringing and about which you know absolutely nothing. So we were talking on another occasion about this question of each person having a psychology. And I said that it was extraordinary that it takes us so long in the work to realize that we have each of us a particular kind of psychology quite apart from our physical body. As you know, the work starts with your psychology, with the kind of person you are psychologically. We agreed that this recognition that one has a particular kind of psychology with various attitudes and buffers and opinions and so on is not experienced by people in general, and that people, since they do not see their psychology, always imagine that they're open-minded, unbiased, and, as it were, quite free in their psychological makeup. People start from this idea. They may be aware of their bodies, but not of their psychologies. They do not see, for example, that they may be psychologically extremely narrow, extremely difficult, extremely biased. Quite the contrary, they feel that they are without any psychology, as it were. And so they get to the illusion, amongst many others, that they can always help everyone, comfort them, mother them, and father them, and so on. Now, the work starts with self-observation, and self-observation does not start with the body, which, after all, you can observe in the mirror every day, but with what kind of person you are psychologically. It is only through self-observation that you can begin to see what you're like psychologically. You may be very beautiful or handsome as regards to your body, but what are you like psychologically? Now, to imagine what a beautiful woman, a beautiful woman has a beautiful psychology, or that a handsome man has a handsome psychology, is pure nonsense. I said in connection with this discussion how extraordinarily difficult it is for people to separate from sensory impressions of one another. This seems as if we cannot get beyond physical appearance and take physical excellence of one kind or another as meaning at the same time similar psychological development. It is like thinking that because a peacock has marvelous display of beauty in its feathers, it therefore has a beautiful and equally beautiful psychological development. You will agree with me that when you hear a peacock speak, you will not think that it has a most beautiful mind or a beautiful emotional development. I think that it is worthwhile speaking about this great difficulty that people have in regard to self-observation. Self-observation does not consist in looking in the mirror and making yourself up to look more beautiful or handsome. This is merely observation of the body and leading to the life of the body and feeling your sense of I from your physical appearance. Self-observation is not done through looking at yourself in a mirror except under certain conditions. Self-observation is looking at your own psychology, that is, at the kind of man, the kind of woman you are psychologically. This seems to be very difficult for a great many people to understand, namely, that they are a physical body and also that they have a particular form of psychology or mental makeup. It is to this psychology or mental makeup that the work directs its attention through self-observation, but it's quite true to say that many people, after hearing this work, or for many years, never really observe what they are like psychologically. They take their psychology for granted. They take all their prejudices, all their ways of taking daily things, all their psychological reactions for granted. In other words, they do not see themselves. And you can only see what you are like psychologically through self-observation. The trouble is that people never practice self-observation, and so never bring themselves to account, always feeling that they have no psychology. They feel that all they do and say is quite right. The second education that the work consists in is about observing this psychology that everyone so easily takes for granted, not noticing that this is a definite thing, a definite makeup from which they can gradually become free if they practice to begin with the first line of work, that is self-observation in the light of this teaching. This requires a considerable effort. Sometimes people make the effort for a time and then begin to catch a slight glimpse of themselves and what they are like psychologically, and then go to sleep again, perhaps for many months and perhaps forever. To feel that one's opinions are all wrong, actually to see that one has behaved wrongly all one's life, psychologically speaking, that is, you know, it's a very difficult thing to accept.